Kofi Annan there talking about how to achieve the common interest, while Russia's deputy ambassador to the United Nations says further UN Security Council action regarding Syria must not include sanctions on the government.
We base ourselves on the assumption and on the arrangements which were reached in Geneva that do not speak of any sanctions or any coercive measures. At the same time, we believe in order to make Geneva arrangements workable and realistic, to press on all sides and all players.
Well, meanwhile, the violence continues inside Syria. This video allegedly shows new bombardment of rebel areas of Homs on Wednesday. And activists say government forces are now using cluster bombs against the opposition in Hama. Fighters say they are Russian-made and are being used indiscriminately. Well, leaders of the opposition Syrian National Council have visited Moscow. They say people in Syria are suffering because of Russia's stance at the UN Security Council.
We cherish this relationship with Russia. We want to make it grow, but not at the expense of Syrian blood. We explained to Russian officials that the Syrian people are suffering currently from the cover the Russian government is giving the Syrian regime in the Security Council, and the Syrian people are being killed by Russian armaments.
Well, Peter Wittig is the German ambassador to the United Nations. He joins us now. Sir, welcome to Al-Jazeera. You've stated that there need to be consequences for non-compliance to the Annan peace plan. What did Kofi Annan himself tell the Security Council about this, and what did he say about the issue of sanctions?
Well, Kofi Annan conveyed a couple of very important messages in today's meeting. First of all, he reassured us that his six-point plan remained the centerpiece of his efforts, meaning the immediate halt of the use of heavy weapons by the Syrian authorities. And then he called on us in the Security Council to have working on consequences in case of non-compliance by Damascus. And this is what we want to do.
The mandate for the mission in Syria expires in about a week. There is currently a Russian draft resolution on the table for the extension of the mandate. Now, would you support this resolution? And more importantly, do you think you have the leverage with Russia to perhaps get them to come to an agreement with you about the sorts of things that you want to see implemented?
Well, the Russian draft resolution contains some useful elements, but we think it's not sufficient. We want to go beyond an extension of the mandate of the UN observer mission. We need more. We need a sanctions resolution, a Chapter 7 element, as we call it, a threat of sanctions in case of non-compliance of Damascus, exactly what Kofi Annan has requested from us. And of course, we need to discuss that with the Russians in the coming days. We will, together with our European partners, present a draft resolution as of this afternoon, and then we enter into the usual negotiations and we see how it will be playing out. We heard some very strong support in the Security Council in the close consultations.
Sure, well, forgive me for interrupting you, but we've also just heard from the deputy Russian ambassador to the UN that they wouldn't agree to sanctions. So do you have any means of trying to convince the Russians to think more along your lines, or is the Security Council going to be deadlocked like it has been for months now?
Well, I hope not. It will not be deadlocked. I think we owe it to the people of Syria and to the whole region that we at long last come to an agreement in the Security Council. We will do our best to be open-minded and also take elements of what the Russians want into account. But I think we agree with Kofi Annan. He said non-compliance should have consequences. I think we've reached a point now where we should act in a more robust manner. This is what I think the whole world expects of us.
I think in one way or another the mandate is likely to be extended. I suppose the question one has to ask oneself now is, what has the Annan plan actually achieved in the months that it's been implemented?
Well, Mr. Annan himself said so far it has not much achieved, and he puts the blame mostly on the Syrian side, on the side of the Syrian authorities. But the plan as such is still valid. This is what he reaffirmed this afternoon, and there's nothing better on the table. So that's still our basis, but we've got to give it some teeth.
Peter Wittig, German ambassador to the United Nations, thank you very much for joining us.